Patch 14.21. If you look at the list, insane amounts of champ buffs and nerfs. Riot is still suffering from the fact that the game got changed mega hard when they nerfed every item in the game. So the game became a lot more unbalanced. So last patch, they did a certain set of champions, which was a lot of changes. So now this patch, they're gonna do another set of champions that I guess probably didn't get any love, or maybe they got love but wasn't enough, or vice versa. Maybe they're too OP. So one of the biggest changes is going to be the bounties. Significant bounty change coming this patch that have been cooking for a while. Some of the reason here is to make bounties feel more intuitive to players across both champion and objective bounties. The high level is bounties will be more tightly correlated with gold in and gold out. When players are negative in bounties, getting gold will bring them back to 0 progressively, rather than a 0-7 player getting 2 kills and then having a 150 gold bounty. 2 kills may or may not be enough to get someone back to being worth 300 gold. So this is like a mega nerf to Bao's playstyle, I suppose, or what? Killing players repeatedly will both acquire less bounty but also give less gold. Objective bounties will be a bit more based on gold rather than XP, to better match players' sensibilities, even if it's less accurate, more aligned with what players associate with leads, especially in pro play. So this is probably like a really bad news, because like he's basically saying it might be less accurate, which is like super weird to me, because like objective bounties is just such a terrible system, and there's just so many games where it just gets abused by in a way where it shouldn't be. Like it's just giving you a lead when you're behind for no reason, or it's just punishing you way too much when you're ahead. Like it just makes no sense. Like this, I truly think objective bounties are just so poorly implemented in League of Legends, and when they're saying stuff like that, when they're going to be even less accurate, like this is just bad news. This is just terrible. System changes lethal tempo a tad weaker than alternatives for melee carries, so we're giving it a bump after Grasp was nerfed out for them. This is also to keep the power level roughly the same for them with the Borg nerf. We acknowledge the concerns around buffing Yon Yasuo last patch while they're dominant at Worlds. The reasoning for that was because 14.19 changes were unnerved to them and were restoring a bit of power while skewing them a little towards crit, as their items were too skewed towards non-crit. AP is still a little too strong, crowding out Lucidity in particular, bringing down Sorks as a result, because we think Lucidity is in a reasonable spot and don't want to buff it. Okay, I got a lot to say about this. So, they're thinking about buffing lethal tempo for melee champions, which I think sounds fine. There are certain melee champions though that use this rune way better than others, like Chandel is one. And yeah, I guess like Yon and Yasuo are going to be more incentivized now to take tempo than before, especially because like they're nerfing Borg, and if Borg gets nerfed attack speed, which could be the way the Riot wants to nerf Borg, then Yasuo and Yon will even further be incentivized to go tempo. On top of that, like, okay, this is just complete incorrect. This is just cap. They're saying that dominant at Worlds, right? They're dominant, but they use they instead of him. The only one that's dominant at Worlds is Yon. It's not Yasuo. Yasuo is used very situationally as like a counter, and even if it does well at that point, the champ is doing his job. So he's not being dominant at Worlds. This is just cap at wording. I definitely think the 14.19 buffs 14.20 buffs to Yon and Yasuo were not as big as people were trying to make it out to be. The biggest buff of the changes is that Yasuo and Yon are just better with Shieldbow than they are with Shidebreaker, which I think is how the game should be. I generally think the Shidebreaker should not be a main core item on Yasuo and Yon, and rather Shieldbow should be. So I think this was just a good change for Riot, whether Yasuo or Yon needed that change. Like basically this change should have happened, and if Yasuo and Yon are too strong, they should have just taken something else out of them, basically. And then here about AP, so they're saying that they're going to nerf swords because they think Lucidity is in a reasonable spot and don't want to buff it. I completely disagree. I think Lucidity boots are terrible in general, and I think what this does is this is probably not going to change the priority. People are still going to most likely just buy either Sorks, Mercs, or plated steel caps, probably that one not though, or maybe sometimes Lucidity. What this will do though is it's going to incentivize people to either buy Sweetness boots and mages more, or Symbiotic Souls. Every time you're nerfing Sorks and Lucidity, you're making mages go more into Symbiotic Souls, which I think are mega undervalued by people. So Again, I don't really mind it, but yeah. Sork's nerf is also going to hurt certain champions more than others, right? Like, for example, champions like LeBlanc will get hurt by Sork's nerf, or Syndra, for example, way more than, I don't know, a champion like Rice or TF or something. Yeah, champions, we'll talk more about the patch tomorrow. So, okay. So we have Azir, which is no surprise, right? One of the worst champs in solo queue, no surprise there. He got the World's treatment plus the new item nerfs with Nashor and Rabadon and all that. We got mega nerf for Azir, even Liandry losing AP when he has like good AP skills. This is all just that, plus his laning phase got it. Okay, sure, totally got Azir buff, it's bound to happen. Corki, kind of same thing, right? Mega nerf because of pro play. They already gave him a buff last patch, but the buff last patch was really small because it was just mana on Q and E, I think. The W damage buff does practically nothing. So yeah, they're gonna have to keep buffing Corki up until, again, it becomes a pro problem, and then again, the cycle repeats. Gangplank buff, personally super happy about this one. I truly think this is one of the highest skill champions in this game. I honestly think it's good when the champ is in meta. Even though Reddit loves to complain about Gangplank. I honestly really do like that Gangplank's getting buffed. It's been a long time since this champ's been meta. He suffered from the fact that Asset Reaver got mega nerfed or like lost Shin. He suffers from the fact that he became, I think, a range champ on Q, so grass become a lot worse on him. He suffers with the fact that Navori, the new Navori, is mega nerfed on him. So he has a lot of issues. Now, Trinity Force is a good item on him. The problem is that he has a hard time itemizing like second, third item, especially because also crit items got nerfed. Like Infinity Arch used to be one of his main items. I guess the Collector buff last patch helps a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff about Gangplank. He does deserve a buff. This is good. So Aurelia, yeah, no surprise there either. So I think I did predict last patch, if I'm not mistaken, that they're probably going to have to keep making changes to Aurelia. Last patch was not enough. I knew it. The changes were so small, they wouldn't really push Aurelia. If anything, they were probably nerfs more so than buffs, which is what I called. I'm kind of confused where they're going with Aurelia. This is like the fourth mini Aurelia change we're getting at this point, and I don't really know where they're getting. Like one patch they try to make her like more low elo skewed, then next patch they're trying to make her more high elo skewed. Like I don't know, they're just confused. Then we have Kayle. So Kayle is below 50% win rate right now in certain elos, when historically she's never really been below 50% win rate. I remember Riot August also thinks that Kayle is balanced at 52% win rate, so I guess that's like another reason why Riot is buffing her here. Yeah, she got weaker. Rabadon nerf hurts her, Nashor's nerf hurts her, Fleet got way nerfed on range champs, kind of forces her to take PTA. Yeah, she's just weaker because of that, and then yeah, pretty much. Probably needs a buff. What they're gonna buff, I guess we're gonna see, but knowing Riot, it's always going to be a super small buff. I would be curious to see if Riot is maybe interested in making AD Kayle a little bit better, or maybe like buffing both versions but AD a little bit more, because AD Kayle is a lot weaker than AP, even though I think AP is a lot cooler for the game. Oh, Malphite, nothing much here to say. Surprised they're buffing this. As far as I know, he's not really struggling in solo queue, but then again, I don't know. I guess they decided to buff Malphite. They gave him like a passive buff last time. 10% passive went to 10% max health now at every rank. But I suppose not enough. More Malphite buffs. Fine. Qiyana. So yeah, Qiyana, just like every assassin, got a lot worse in the new patch because assassin items got gutted and assassins were the most nerfed class together with ADC. This is, I think, not just a Qiyana problem, this is like just assassin problem in general. Their items are just not good. So instead of buffing Qiyana, I think Riot should have just probably maybe buffed a certain item here and there for assassins. I think this is probably incorrect way to go about it. To go for individual champs rather than the whole items here, because I think like assassins in general are just struggling. So Sivir, we saw the changes on PB, they're making her Q better, and I think they're giving her like an early game AD buff. So yeah, Sivir also a champ that suffers with like shield nerf, and I guess like tempo is not the best for her. Sure, Talon, similar to Qiyana, assassins are struggling, okay. Curious to see if Talon is probably jungle or mid buff. I assume it's both in this case. Teemo. So, okay. I don't think Teemo... I don't really understand about why Teemo is getting buffed here. I don't. Because like when I was doing checking how champs are performing this patch. Teemo's win rate, like this patch, like last patch, Teemo's win rate actually went up in lower ranks, even though he got no changes. The reason why I think it went up is because of the visual update. The visual update is an indirect buff to Teemo, and it's kind of hard to explain why, but the character is just cleaner to play. So, having said all of that, really, really, really weird that they're buffing Teemo. I definitely, this is probably the one I don't agree being on the list. Yeah, not much to say. And then Xayah. Xayah also struggles with, like, first of all, they tried to make Essence Reaver cheaper, aka better, but it just made the item probably worse in reality. Yeah, Xayah, not many good items to buy, gets outranged by everything, same problems, hasn't been good in a long time. PB is that they're giving her some W damage, the buff seems to be pretty small. Nerfs, Aurelion Sol, massively benefited from the latest patch of item nerfs because his passive gets more value, like every stacking champion got a lot better, like Veigar, Azol and stuff like that, so no surprise, Azol is dominating low elo once again and he's getting a nerf. Brand, another champion that's getting a nerf next patch. Really, this one I also find it really weird because Brand has gotten nerfed now like 7-8 times now already, like together with items. I don't think Brand is performing that well anymore. Just looking at it throughout the game, he's no longer top tier jungler like he used to be. He used to be way stronger. So I'm honestly really, really, really shocked that they're nerfing Brand this patch. I don't think the champ even needs it. Camille, yeah, PB nerfs were really hard nerfs to Camille top lane and Camille support. It's probably going to kill her next patch, but Camille's been S tier top laner now for a long, long time. Nerf is variant here. Elise been good ever since the items got changed, or items got also nerfed, because she operates more on base damage, because early game is also like in a way more important, because her items are good in the meta. She's a really big abuser of Sorks, Shadow Flame and Storm Surge. These are items that AP items that are doing really well in the last few patches, so, and then she got tons of quality of life changes, so Elise is getting a nerfed really fast, to be honest. She hasn't really been that good in a long time, but Riot really pulled the trigger really early here, which I'm really surprised about. Probably a small nerf though. Fiddlesticks nerf, you might be like, wait, why is Fiddlesticks getting nerfed? I can tell you why. He has super high win rates in solo queue. Everywhere. This champion, yes, it's mainly like an OTP type of champion, but he just performs well in solo queue. So yeah. Yeah, Fiddlesticks is basically just a huge solo queue performer. Then we have Galio, another champion that performs super well in solo queue, but mostly in low elo. Up until, I would say, Diamond. At Master Plus, he is not as good anymore because he becomes more counter-pick reliant, but he's still good when you pick him in the correct spots. Kind of the same reasoning as Fiddle. Win rate's super high. The changes in items for all buffs to Galio as well. Operates more on base damage, CC more important. His items are still good. He can still buy Lich Bane. He still goes tank route. He has 2 good routes. Gwen, super OP, super happy Riot is nerfing it. Finally, this champ's been OP now for ever since items got nerfed. Mega benefited the fact that she has true damage, the fact that she scales like a monster. Yeah, it's insane. Gwen meta has been here for a while. I think the top 3 best top laners in solo queue are Gwen, Camille, and Jax in Hyla. And I'm really surprised that Jax is not on this nerf list, because that's also a champ that I think should be nerfed. But yeah, if I was nerfing 3 tops that would deserve a nerf, it would be Camille, Gwen, and Jax. Hui also benefited massively with the new items. He's one of the mages that didn't get his build nerfed because he uses Blackfire Torch, which is not that nerfed, and he uses Horizon, which was not that nerfed. So Hui was one of the biggest benefiters as well from the item patch that just happened. So no surprise Riot is nerfing him. His win rate is really high everywhere as well. One of the highest win rates the champ has been in as a champion. Kai'Sa, no surprise there. She's obviously picking up super high in solo queue and high elo. She's usually a menace in Korea and China solo queue as well. Really strong. On-hit ADCs are very good compared to crit ADCs. She abuses Rageblade, Shiu, Terminus, stuff like that. Even goes the AP route, really strong. Karthus also massively benefited with the item changes. Blackfire Torch, Karthus with Liandry, super strong. Kills you with the burn effects. Really strong in solo queue. Kassadin is another champion that benefited from the patch, yes, but Kassadin, I think, does not deserve a nerf yet. I do think that at some point Riot would have to nerf him, but I think what's happening here is that people haven't really realized yet that he's as strong as people make him out to be. The problem with Kassadin is that he's stronger than people think he is, and that a lot of the win rate on Kassadin is being held down by people going wrong runes and wrong builds, aka Roa, and using runes like Fleet or Electrocute, which are terrible runes. So, that's kind of the problem. I honestly think Riot is pulling the trigger too early here. They could have easily waited a few more patches until people actually start playing him way more and more. But yeah, his win rate did spike heavily when the item changes came in, because there's less damage in the game, which is exactly what Kassadin likes as a champion. Less damage means he extends fights longer, which means his kit functions better in general. He survives lanes and then does his thing. He spikes massively level 11. Nasus. So, Nasus specifically is the best top laner in low elo in this video game. There's no one even close. Yes, the only elo where Nasus is not as good and becomes more of a counter pick, it's similar sort to Galio, is like Diamond Plus. That's it. Everywhere else, like we're talking gold, silver, iron, plat, like Nasus is just broken. Mega broken. He's literally the best top laner in the game right now in low elo. Yes, there's some other ones that are really good, like Mordekaiser and stuff, but Morde already got like a nerf. Nasus is now like the king, basically. So yeah, Nasus, no surprise, 100% expected it. When Riot nerfed Yorick and Mort last patch, which were the top 2 best top laners in low elo, and Dr. Mundo as well. Now they nerf 3 best top laners. Guess what? Nasus goes up in level. So now they have to nerf Nasus. Senna, another champ that benefited, similar to Aesol. She's a stacking champ. Stacking champs all benefited with a new patch. She also doesn't really care about the fact that items are weaker because she scales via passive and with souls and gets free stats that way and stacks people because teamfights are longer, more stacking, more, stuff like that. So benefitter. Taric, a champion that has been insanely high win rate for like over a year already. Freak has said specifically that Taric is one of the most hidden supports in the game. This is what he said about Poppy and Taric. Poppy then was played by Mickey X at Worlds. Then she got popularity. Now everyone knows she's broken. She got nerfed last patch. Taric is kind of similar. Taric is extremely high win rate for God knows how long, but he's very unpopular, so people are not realizing it. So after many months of this happening, Riot has finally decided that, hey, now we're gonna actually act and nerf Taric. Viego. So super happy about that one. I didn't think Riot was gonna do it. For some unholy reason, Viego has been allowed to just be rampant in solo queue for a long time now. And not only that he's allowed to be rampant, but they also gave him 380 buff at some point, and they gave him a 5 Q damage buff or something like that. While they even gave him like 2 buffs recently when he was already pretty good, which made no sense because they were trying to also buff Viego mid, but they ended up also buffing Viego jungle. Words cannot express how big of a problem this champion is in solo queue. This champion, like, it's hard for me to describe, but like it's especially like I really feel it in my games. I don't know if this champion poses the same issues in silver, gold, plat, emerald, diamond. I don't think it does. I don't think so. But in Master Plus specifically, the elo that I play in, this champion warps games so fucking hard. Words can't describe it. Like, there is no champion like it. Like, seriously, like, this champion's design is so out of place. It's like, I'm just surprised this is even in the game. Like, you playing in high elo and you can have a perfect game and Viego just gets one kill. He takes over the whole fight just like that and just all of a sudden aces your team. All of a sudden, like, it's like a 6-0 Viego on enemy team. Just going rampage, ganking lanes from left to right. This happens every single game that they play. The problem I have with Viego is that it's not that I'm playing against good players from Viego. It doesn't matter who the Viego player is. The champion just consistently has the same issues in my games. Like this one, I'm so grateful. Like, I despise playing into Viego. This is the most game warping champion I have experienced playing League of Legends in the last 4 or 5 months. Words can't describe how disgusting it is to play this game against Viego. Okay, I'm done with ranting. Volibear. Surprised also about that one. He is pretty high win rate on top lane and jungle, especially in lower ranks, so probably that's the reason why they're nerfing him. I don't I don't know, at least in high elo specifically, I haven't really experienced anything strong about Volibear in a long time now. Especially because like the Rowan of Warrior build got a lot worse for Volibear, so now he's kind of forced to go like Thunder Sky Volibear with Stark. Yeah, surprised, I don't know. Didn't expect Volibear to be nerfed. And then Yon and Yorick. So Yon specifically is yeah, got a little bit too big buffs, plus on top of that, yeah, he's just basically a Master plus problem. Like, if you're below Master, Yon is not a problem, you're coping, because he's actually mega negative win rate. Above Master, yeah, this is where he becomes a problem. I do ban Yon currently. The reason why I ban Yon currently is because he kills midland diversity. Meaning that if enemy team plays Yon, you only have certain specific answers to Yon. You can play like Ari or Syndra, and if you don't play any of these meta champs, you're basically losing. Nothing is playable into him. Unless you play like Renekton mid. And nobody wants to play Renekton mid in solo queue. Everybody wants to play a mage or something like that. So Yon is just automatically good at, against like 80% of midland pool in high elo. This champion kills midland diversity completely. That's why I ban it, for that specific reason. And I'm personally happy that they're nerfing him. I am personally happy. I think it's good that they're gonna take him out for a little bit and then eventually maybe bring him back up. I hope the nerfs are big. And then Yorick specifically, again, just like I mentioned with Nasus, he's the low elo king. He's always been the low elo king. Yorick is just dominating low elo lobbies. So they're giving him a nerf. It's probably kind of similar to Nasus, like the nerfed Mundo and the nerfed Mordekaiser, which were two of the best low elo champions together with Yorick and Nasus. And now this patch, Yorick and Nasus are following the nerfs to, you know, 4 low elo players, pretty much. I'm personally happy. I think Yorick should just be nerfed for low elo, and so then he's not viable for high elo as well. And I hope in the future also Riot nerfs Warwick, because Warwick is kind of similar to like Yorick and this type of champions, giga performant in low elo. Yeah. And I think Warwick is going to need the same treatment at some point, for sure. Okay, so these are the changes. Then we have Nyla and Swain. So I don't know what exactly they're doing to Nyla. They had to micro patch nerf her dispatch because she was like ended up being too strong with the E, which probably had a bug fix. I truly think she just had a bug that made her OP. Riot preemptively nerfed her, not realizing that she has a bug, and now they're gonna fix the buff and revert the buffs. That's my prediction. I don't know if there is a bug, but I'm assuming there is one. And then we have Swain. Swain rework, commented on it, looks fine. We'll see how it plays out. Lethal Tempo melee, Blade of the Rune King nerf. This is going to massively nerf certain melee champions because this is probably a melee nerf, I would assume. Range on range champions, Blade is not a good item anyway. So Aurelia is getting a nerf. That's why probably Aurelia buff is happening this patch as well. Yon and Yasuo are going to suffer from Bork nerf. Viego will probably swap to Kraken for the most part. I don't know who else buys Bork. There's probably some champions that buy Bork. I'm just not really thinking it right now. And then champion objective bounties. Like, okay, it's a nice patch. You know, they are buffing a lot of different champions this patch that are, well, most of them are struggling. They're nerfing a lot of also different champions that they didn't nerf last patch. But I don't think this is where it ends. I think 14.22 will also probably be similar size to this, because I think the game will still need 1 or 2 more big patches like this to really get it into a state where it's more balanced like it used to be. How do you explain no Shen nerf? It's hard to say. I think it will happen at some point. It's probably just about the fact that they already have so many champions they're nerfing, and maybe it's the fact that Shen hasn't been meta in such a long time. They want to give him more time to like be strong. That's probably kinda what I think. Yeah, anyway, that's kinda it, right? Why is Syndra not getting adjusted? She's like so strong. She just got the nerf with Ludens and Storm Surge this patch specifically. She's doing a little bit worse. She lost like 1% win rate. So she did get worse, but yeah, I guess they're gonna wait maybe they're gonna probably wait longer before they nerf her again. She's also getting nerfed with Sorks. That is also true. You said Viego and Yon might not be a problem in low elo. Is it because their players are worse? Is it because they can't set up for the champions? Viego and Yon are... No, this is not true. Viego is okay in low elo. I just said that he doesn't have the same issue with game warping mechanic of passive resetting and it's not as apparent as it is in high elo. It's like a different subject. Yon is not a good low elo champion because he's extremely high elo skewed, because low elo players cannot pilot Yon to the extent where the champion becomes good. And a lot of champions have this problem.